gentlemen, the show is about to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
He'll be fire on the mountain.
It's time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Built by the Barndominium Company, served by Chicken Cock Whiskey, and part of the Chief Sports Network.
Juice Wells, all the way, touchdown Gamecocks.
Pressure, and he just dives in.
Dozier, notice.
Here's J.C. Sherberg, Phil Mullinax, and Jamie Bradford.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard and welcome home inside the Gamecocks, the show, live from the Signorama Studios, the preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics and built by the Barndominium Co. The Barndo Co. as they're called, where you can build your dream home for as low as $160 per square foot if you live in the Carolinas, in Georgia, or in Tennessee. We, of course, are served by Chicken Cock Whiskey. Many of you who attended the Carolina Rise / Big Spur Splash Show tailgate party this past weekend, a lot of you got a chance to experience that, and I know that because every bottle we brought was the first thing that disappeared. And luckily, I was smarter than everybody and hid a bottle, so all of the bourbon didn't go away too fast. But anyway, certainly appreciate everybody showing up there. And those of you that have been participating in the Chicken Cock Challenge on the Chief Sports app, we really appreciate that too. We'll have some gifts to you here pretty soon. JC is a gift. He's back today from traveling yesterday. Phil's still here with that little scratch on his head, but it's all good. And then coming up at noon, Talkin Ball with Pat DiMarco. Pat has a few plays he'll go over from the game this past weekend, the loss against North Carolina. We'll put that video on the screen for you and let one of the best in the business kind of tell us what he is seeing there and kind of break some things down, good and bad this weekend or last weekend for the Gamecocks. Hopefully all good this upcoming weekend as Furman comes to town to kick off the 23 season at Williams-Brice Stadium. But with all of that said, we also have Agree or Disagree coming up a little bit later in the program. And JC and Phil will answer some questions there. But we're glad that you're back safe and glad to see you here, JC. Thanks for everything this past weekend. We of course, you spearheaded the whole thing. I know it was a team effort, but we'll pat you on the back before anybody else. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to thank Chris Payne from Nana's Porch. Delicious food. Nobody said anything but wonderful things about the food, and he worked his butt off and to make sure everybody was okay. Thanks to my fiance Nat, who worked the door for us. Thanks to you guys for helping out. My boy Jamie Ray was a bartender for about an hour and a half. Started talking about. Yeah, Jamie talks a little bit more Southern than the rest of us. He's like, man, it's just like cocktail. I'm just like cocktail.
Yeah.
So he was pouring drinks. I want to give a shout out to our super fan, Trung Fan, who brought his whole family.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome, the whole time.
Yep,
many of you that watched the show were there. In fact, I think I identified more people through the show than Carolina Rise or the Big Spur. A lot of people big fans of us. Shout out to Corey Miller, who helped us get Mark Bryan and Occasional Milkshake there. The band was great, perfect. High Seltzer was there. We appreciate that. Certainly Chicken Cock. Too many people really to thank. If I didn't get a chance to talk to you as much as I wanted to, believe me, I didn't get a chance to talk to you as much as I wanted to, each and every one of you while I was there. But, Park Avenue showed up too, and Connor Shaw. I want to thank those guys as well as all the baseball players that came.
Yeah.
And for those that haven't seen it, Roman Kimball has a video up highlighting the day, which is really, really good. And John Whittle, want to thank him because he helped on that end. Just so much help and such a great day. Weather was good. About the game, that was very, very disappointing. But some of us were okay enough after the game to take a nice scooter ride.
Yeah.
Some of us left the game out of frustration.
A story on deck to tell for that,
Yeah,
but no, yeah,
it's not. But it's we had a good time, and that's what it's all about. So everybody has a good feeling about it. A good feeling about Carolina Rise. Certainly, if you're not a member, please join. All that yada yada. Joel asked if we raised any money. We had some people donate. That wasn't a fundraiser, Joel. It was for as a give back, because when you're a member, you don't get anything but a magnet, really, and the satisfaction you help players. So that's our, once or twice a year we give back. And I can tell you it didn't take any money away from players to put that on. So if you're wondering about that. So anyway, it was good, a good deal for us and all that stuff. But we got football to talk about. This game this weekend's big. 6th ranked FCS team in the country. Furman has a history of pulling upsets. They are back as a program thanks to Clay Hendricks, which is a tremendous hire. He's a Paladin from way back, was at Air Force for a while. Certainly has those guys playing really good football, and it's going to be a challenge for South Carolina this weekend to kind of, avoid the yips a little bit, get fired up. Gamecock fans need to be there. It's not going to be something that you can just waltz in and win. It's not like the get-right games last year. This is a significantly better football team, I think, than both Charlotte and SC State last season. So lots to talk about. Looking forward to talking to Pat DiMarco, and just great in general to be back on the show. Season openers, Carolina normally wins them. So normally I don't feel bad about taking Labor Day off and maybe taking another day. I felt bad this time because you guys probably needed to hear from me. And I did put my game thoughts up on Big Spur, but certainly apologize for that. Had I known the outcome, certainly wouldn't have gone tubing in Helen, Georgia on Monday. But it is what it is. And glad to be back here at Studio North for the rest of the week and in Studio South for 3 straight weeks for me. So good to be here.
Yeah, Phil, as JC pointed out, usually South Carolina, I think the stat that I rolled out on Friday was since the turn of the century, they're 20-3 in opening games. And obviously now that would be 20-4 with that loss to the Tar Heels. And, but, I think someone just said it in the chat box here, and Craig just did. It's over. You got to get over it now. And you've got this is a difficult month coming up. I mean, if you're not careful, you could look up when you're entering October and really feel bad about yourselves. A lot worse than you do here at 0-1 after falling to the Tar Heels. But, look, I've done nothing but kind of talk on the phone outside of working my rear end off for the last 48 hours with a lot of stuff that's coming down the pike with Chief. And everybody I've talked to just trying to kind of figure it out. Hey, look, what did we see here? What did you see? I want to make sure that I understand, what I thought I saw, and does this make sense, and does that make sense? And everybody that I've talked to who has a pulse, who gets it, and one of those guys is coming up here in just a little while. By the way, Pat and I haven't talked a ton. We talked a little bit. They don't. What we saw Saturday night is inexcusable. And they all agree that was pretty poor in a lot of areas. But also what we saw Saturday night probably isn't as bad as we all think it is. And there are some answers to some questions that we've all got. And, we'll see if those things get answered or not. But there are enough answers on this football team. Now, I'm not saying, again, that shouldn't excuse anything that happened, in particular, guys, on both lines of scrimmage. That's the hurt in all of this. That's the hurt. But they feel like they've got some answers, and we'll just see if they can get it cleaned up. They still have 11 games to play, and they certainly can have a heck of a season.
Well, here's
Yeah,
the thing, too. Go ahead, Phil. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, with the schedule the way it's set up, you as a team, you've got to flush what happens, whatever, on Saturday. I mean, it's, you're on to Furman, and then you can't let what happened the previous Saturday beat you heading into the week.
Yep.
There are things that can get cleaned up from what we saw on the field Saturday that, if done, will give you the success that you need. But you just can't let North Carolina beat you when you're on the field against Furman.
I think another thing, this team needs to they didn't do it against North Carolina. This team needs to be clutch. Last year's team, in the games they were successful, they were clutch.
Yeah.
Kentucky, you needed a big play, Juice got it. A&M's marching back, Marshawn Lloyd took over. For Tennessee, you answered them every single time and then some. Clemson, you're down early, you come back, you just keep playing and fighting and come through in key moments. South Carolina did not do that. You kicking on, so you have the first time was you're up 14-10. You hadn't played very well, but you're still in the lead. You're going to the locker room with the lead, and you give up a long pass for a touchdown, and then you don't do anything with it. Onside kick happens to start the second half, beautifully executed. And then some questionable play call in there on that first drive. I probably wouldn't have run the ball as much as they tried to do in that situation because it's quick change and you won't strike. But Amarian Brown drops a wide open pass. He'd probably still been running.
Yeah.
That could have been it. With his speed, he had the angle. It could have been a touchdown. All right, after the 31-14, South Carolina's defense wakes up. They start getting stops and turnovers and kind of playing like their normal selves. And you're inside the 22 three times, and you come away with 3 points. This team, you have to take advantage of those moments. I mean, if they do, we're probably all sitting here going, hey, North Carolina got 9 sacks or 8 sacks or whatever it was, but Carolina won the football game, or at least went to overtime and came back and showed signs of life. That's got to get fixed. And when you can't run the football, red zone offense gets significantly harder because the field shrinks. You don't have as much room to operate. That's why teams that run air raid, and there's a big example of that Monday night.
Yeah.
That's why despite their being much better at running back and offensive line than Carolina, you saw what happened. That's why teams like that struggle that don't come in. So you have to find a way to get it done in clutch moments. And that's the thing I take away generally from this game. The blocking obviously needs to get better. There's some discussion about whether the D-line played well or not. I did not think they did because you get one tackle for loss and no sacks, and you really probably should have taken some more chances to get after Drake. He's hard to get down. But, they should have won. They did not win enough, as Shane said, one-on-one battles. So
to your point, JC, I know you missed it yesterday, but Boogie Huntley, Tonka Hemingway, and Jordan Strawn had a combined 4 tackles, and all of those were assisted. None of them were solo tackles. Those are your 3 guys up front. They've got to be better than that.
Oh, yeah, there's no question. And if you have to play Nick Barrett and Elijah Davis more in your Travian Robertson and Sterling Lucas, I think you do it. I mean, slide Tonka out the end, and if you want to, I mean, I think he could play out there and put Nick Barrett. Nick Barrett played pretty well, I thought. I mean, he's bigger than everybody else, right?
Yep.
And a North Carolinian. So you got to get there, and you've got to score, as Craig points out in the chat box. You have to score, and you have to come through in clutch moments. And Shane talked about there was one play down there. I could have thrown the ball. He said they could have punted the ball to 2 guys. And I could have thrown the ball down there, gotten a touchdown. Guys were wide open. Dowell, people are going to talk about Dowell Loggins this, Dowell Loggins. I thought Dowell, his play calling actually kept Carolina in the game the first half, just to be honest. I mean, like that little pass back to the other side of the field to Juju, he's wide open. I thought the deep slant to Trey Knox was a great call. I thought he was calling it well. Second half, maybe you there's probably a lot of second guessing on the part of the staff in the second half because, especially down there in the red zone, you got to be able to dial something up that works. But look, it's over. It's done with. Like I said, there's some, my feedback from it was a lot of sadness on Saturday night. And then Sunday, the sun came up and kind of got a couple texts. Hey, it wasn't the end of the world. The team did have no turnovers. That's rare for the Beamer era.
That's a big deal.
And you just got to go back and get after it. And like Phil said, you can't let this game linger because Furman's coming to town to whip your ass. All right, just to be honest, they're not scared of you. They're not intimidated by you. There's a lot of older players on that team. They went into Clemson last year and battled. They're going to come battle you. They're going to want to win the game. They are a proud program historically. Some of you younger folks may not remember how great Furman was once upon a time. Oh, by the way, led by, I think, 3 South Carolina grads in Art Baker, Dick Sheridan, and Jimmy Satterfield that never got this job. But they were a powerhouse. Under Bobby Johnson, they were a powerhouse. Billy Napier was as quarterback was the last time they were this good, and they were a national championship contender. So you got to watch them. They're like I said, they're well coached and very good. And South Carolina is going to have to show up and play well and play better and win more one-on-one battles, come through in clutch moments on Saturday night in front of what should still be a great crowd at Williams-Brice.
Oh, yeah. Look, this is the first home game of the year. You don't wait from last year in November until this year and then decide you're not going to show up because of 4 quarters. That's insane. But I've rewatched this game 1.5 times. I'm going to get through it again, probably a little bit later on this evening after the kids go down to bed, and we watch the all new Little Mermaid that just came out on Disney Plus. What I've noticed is Trey Knox had a tough night. He had a tough night, guys, and he played the majority of the snaps at tight end, and there were quite a few plays that were called in crucial moments where he just flat out whiffed. And you hate to call kids out, but they're really not kids anymore. They're college athletes who, they get paid to play football now, right? So, Trey, I'm sure, has watched the tape plenty since Saturday, and he knows that he's got to be better. And you're talking about, guys, totally whiffing to Carry-On Joyner getting hit in the backfield, or Spencer Rattler kind of dancing and running for his life, and going from what would be 3rd and short or 2nd and 4 or 5 to 2nd and 12, 3rd and 9. That's a big deal. So, there are little things there where if you can get that stuff right, you're talking about sustaining drives, and then who knows what happens, right? So, again, inexcusable what happened the other night, but certainly that they can be better, and there's some day one stuff that they can fix. And I've got confidence that they will. Their track record proves that they've been able to do that in the last couple of seasons under Coach Beamer.
Yeah, you got to fix that, and I think a lot of it is maybe on the position coach or OC. I mean, if Trey's whiffing, put Josh in. Josh didn't,
probably should have played more
till the second half, or Nick Elks. I mean, certainly, if you've got plays designed where your tight ends have to block, maybe try to figure out who your best. Maybe Trey was the best blocker, because I've heard he was really good at blocking, probably better than Jaheim.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the deal there. Cam mentioned in the chat box. I'll point this out real quick, JB.
Go ahead. Yeah,
in the chat box, the line looks confused and they don't know what to do yet again. It wasn't confusion, brother. That was last year when they played tentative. They just got their butts whipped.
Yeah, they got whipped.
And that's a hard reality, but they got whipped. And when Chiswick, and credit Chiswick for masterful game plan, he knew when to send his linebackers. They had no answer, and that's just nutting up and making a block, getting after it. Don't get beat in one-on-one situations. And so it wasn't. It was one of those things. I think both lines of scrimmage, the big fellas all have a lot of soul searching to do, starting this weekend and moving forward. And, hey, injuries are part of the game. I said on the Big Spur, I know the depth chart came out and everybody's like, oh, you don't know. The depth chart's in pencil, man. It wouldn't surprise me if Big Tree Babalade and Trevon Ball and Marquis when he gets back. Seems like Beamer wants to play Marquis. He keeps mentioning him.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me if those guys end up, because those guys are most likely more talented. Not saying they're better players right now, but more talented than the guys you got out there. So South Carolina may have to go for a youth movement there. But anyway, I'm gonna shut up and let you guys talk.
No, it's Look, there's a couple of things here. Just speaking straight up football, and again, that's why we invite guys named Pat DiMarco and Perry Orth on in Flint. They know more than every single one of us, and all of you included, combined. I saw just a minute ago, Quantrell said he'd like to see more 12 personnel. I think that's a really neat observation, because that was mentioned to me on Monday. Trying to get these two tight ends on the field a little bit more. And that doesn't always mean, JC, as we well know, that they're split on either side of the field or anything of that nature. There's a lot that you can do with both of those guys. And I do think that that's probably something they're looking at and then trying to figure out how they can implement that maybe a little bit more. I know that that's in the repertoire as well. We just don't know what was in the game plan last weekend, but I think that's a really neat observation there by Quantrell, and as I pointed out, that's been mentioned to me as well.
Definitely, Quantrell, and I'll say this about 12 personnel. That's good. I mean, if you could, they had to kind of go to something like that last year. If you remember that Tennessee game, I mean, they even moved Atkins to the backfield and just had him block, and then they ran him out on a nice little pattern against Clemson. Confused the hell out of Clemson, but it was who is that guy? Though that's my question. Who is the Nate Atkins? Go find I don't care if it's a walk-on. I don't care if it's a walk-on linebacker like that kid they brought in from Alabama from Jamie Bradford's alma mater, Wando, Colin Bryant. He played tight end over at Bama, and he's a tough kid. Really tough. I saw him in the spring game. He'll knock you to next week. Balasaro from Chapman. Go find a guy. Go move a guy from the other side, because I think we know that if you give Spencer time, he's going to complete passes. If somebody doesn't drop it. I mean, think about the drops last night or Saturday night, and then what his stats would be if they weren't.
Well, think about you
I mean,
about that.
And the two I'm thinking, Juice dropped one on the first series, and injured or not, there was nothing but green in front of him. It was kind of a cattywampus play. But if Juice comes down with that, gets his balance, he's gone.
Well, you've got those two. You've got 9 sacks, and you've got about 7 or 8 more QB hurries that went in the stat book as QB hurries. Some of them don't, of course, depending on how the play works out. But so you're talking and realistically, almost about 20 different plays where he was, really attempting to throw the football or wanted to throw the football and couldn't. That's a lot. That means he would have thrown it a lot. Probably realistically would not have, of course, by moving it, but he would have probably ended up throwing it somewhere around 45 times or something like that in the game. Just think if you would have had that opportunity, he would have thrown for 500 yards, JC, and I can almost bet my bottom dollar that South Carolina would have won the game. I think one of the questions, too, and I know we got to get to break, Phil, but I think one of the questions, too, is I did like, for the large majority, what Dowell did the other night. Mm-hmm. I thought they should have probably gone to quick game maybe a little bit early, but what do I know? A little bit earlier than they did late in the game. With all that said, though, I think one of the questions is, are you or are you not what you are? And you're sitting here going, wait, what the hell does that mean? You just might be a football team that just throws it 7 out of 10 times. That just might be who you are. That just might be who you are. And yeah, you want to run it. And we all want to see the running game working and this, that, and the other, but you can't waste plays either. And we all know that. So if you just can't flat out run the football, JC, then there might be a time in the future, if it's not already there, I have no idea, where Shane Beamer and his staff huddle up in a classroom somewhere and say, you know what? We have to throw the football to win games, and we got to throw it a lot. So we got to figure out what the best offense for us to be is by doing that.
And I think that's just like when Jerry Glanville, one of my childhood heroes, coached the Falcons and the Oilers back in the day, and June Jones was his OC.
Yeah.
He's like, wow, we just run it for pride. They had a little back about the size of Juju McDowell named Eric Pegram. And look, the Falcons went to the playoffs that year.
Right.
and beat New Orleans in the first round. Ended up getting destroyed by the Redskins, one of those good Redskins teams, Phil. But it was
Remember that.
some teams have to do that. I mean, Texas Tech. I mean, and if you're in that situation, you have to do it. I'll say this: one good play, to carry on's touchdown run. There was a hole wide enough to drive a truck through.
Yeah.
He wasn't even.
There was all the blocking you needed there, and that's the
know?
one thing I don't understand about getting onto logins so early. It was like, now we've got a 1 game sample size.
Yeah,
And and your quarterback was on his butt more than he was on his feet. And he's doing everything he can to continue to move that train and give you an opportunity in the fourth quarter with the offense.
Yeah,
to do something. They just couldn't convert. And hey, how's he going to adjust? Everybody's got to adjust. So I expect there to be some tweaks on that end. I mean, Dowell Loggins is no fool.
Back in the early Spurrier era, man, the O-line was bad every year to begin with, and boy, they didn't do much better with the legend calling the plays, right? He'd get all frustrated with Blake Mitchell and bench him eventually. I mean, it was. I remember they got shut out by Georgia at home in 06, and it ended up being they were better than Georgia at the end of the year. So things do get better. O-line is one of those things that sometimes it takes a while to gel. I think it's one of those things where you can't get any worse. So let's see. It's got to get better though now, and then in 2 weeks definitely, or there's no shot.
11:28. It is September the 6th. Hump Day is what they call it, and we are marching towards week 2 of college football. And for South Carolina, more on that. We'll get JC's reaction. Duke taking down the Clemson Tigers on Monday night. I'm sure that made a lot of us and a lot of you feel a little bit better, although it didn't change the record of the Gamecocks. Agree or disagree, Pat DiMarco are all ahead here on our program. Hang tight. Inside the Gamecocks, the show, dressed by Britons of Columbia. We'll be right back.
The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks!
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Coach O here. And when I'm not eating average jambalaya or celebrating endless summer in Destin, I like to eat pimento cheese straight off the bucket. And the only pimento cheese I like to eat is from Nana's Porch. It's award-winning. It'll melt in your mouth. It's good on a cracker. It's good in a bowl. It's good on a piece of bread. Also, don't forget Nana's Porch has a hell of a food truck. It's award-winning as well, and they're here for all of your catering needs. So get online, nanasporch.com. It's good. Coach O signing off. Endless summer. Go Tiger.
For chicken cock, we get a medium to medium plus toast, the char level. We use a number 3 level char. If you char it too deep, you start burning away some of those flavor components that you just created. If you just char a barrel and you don't toast it, you're going to create some of those flavors just on a thin layer just inside the char, but not the actual depth and full extent of flavors that you're going to get if you toast it properly. All those elements, that's exactly what they do. They boil down to great flavor.
If you're in the real estate market in the Lowcountry or even in the Midlands, please contact me, JB, with Coast to Coast Realty SC. Go Gamecocks.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
probably noticed that I've got the headset on today. That is because I snapped off the bottom of my microphone arm yesterday.
How? Were you?
No
Well, what
idea.
sporting event happened
strange.
yesterday?
Look, as you well know, we're working on some things for the future, and so I've been working with some new stuff, software and equipment and all kinds of things. And I was toying around with that in the vault, and I had just all kinds of different things up here that I was kind of trying to figure out, am I going to use two computers or one, basically. So I'm moving things around, and I grabbed it, and I'm just holding it, and I was like, well, it must have come out. No, it was just broke clean off. So yeah, we've got an order a new one, but I don't know. I kind of like wearing the headset anyways, man. It makes me feel like I'm on remote, and might just keep it this way.
Kind of like some of the taps on the kegs on Saturday.
Yeah.
Remember those kept breaking a little bit.
Yeah, those little plastic things were.
They weren't high quality,
No.
Well, I thought what was interesting about that was so many of us kept getting asked to tap all these kegs, and every one of us, I think, JC, with the exception of your brother, everybody else had literally the same exact response. Man, I hadn't done that since college. I don't want to be the one to do it.
Yeah, Cam jumped in there and got it done. And gosh, who else? I should have asked Jan Bennett. He was over there with his crew. Jan probably knows how to tap a keg still, right?
I would imagine. I thought Jan was asked. Maybe he wasn't asked. Maybe we screwed up by not asking him. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this too. I know everybody's frustrated about quarter. Like, oh, you got a quarterback. You got Doty playing receiver. Number one, I thought Doty looked really good at receiver. Probably better than he has a quarterback in a game. And of course he hadn't been healthy, so I don't want to say that's his position or whatever. But I thought he looked really good. Tough, made the tough catch, wasn't scared, has enough speed, good hands. As far as DeCarrion goes, is he a step slow in the hole? Is it just blocking? I don't know. I will say, I guess Chris Marler from Saturday Down South just went off about that on the Spurs Up show, and I get the point.
He went off about what?
About quarterbacks playing, but you have three quarterbacks playing different positions. And look, you know who else is a former quarterback? Xavier Legette. I don't think that's a problem. Playing quarterbacks at certain positions. Do I think running back and that room and the shape the room's in is inexcusable? Yes. And do I think it's inexcusable that you've got a talented freshman in Braswell and you got a transfer in Anderson that are coming up a level but have proven that they can go do it and they don't get a carry? Where's the development there? You don't have to do much to develop running backs. Des Kitchings is probably about the best one they had at that. And Bobby Bentley did a good job of getting A.J. Turner and Bond Denson significantly better. But you need these guys.
Yeah, look the running back in the room, and I know that people don't want to hear this because of his size, but the one who's most prepared, the most natural, most capable back they have is Juju. And I'm not going to say that it's really not close because we haven't seen Mario get a game snap, and we haven't seen DJ Braswell get a snap in the game either. But when you watch those two the other night, and by the way, I'm a big believer in as the year goes on. I mean, we've said this. Look, Kerryon Joyner, it's probably going to take him some time to get things figured out. I thought he'd get a little bit more than what he had the other night, of course. I think there were some things that to diagnose and break down there. He certainly missed some holes in this, that, and the other. Juju McDowell is an actual running back, and he has played 3 years of college football. So he's the most prepared. The problem is he's 5'8" and he's 180 pounds. And, he's not going to be able to get JC, 15, 20 carries every game, I don't think. And so I'm with you. Look, There was a time and day around here. Again, here's another example we've used a bunch of, right? Brandon Wiles. Nobody knew who he was. He was this kid from Blythewood who was the fifth string running back. You know, just not whatever, just kind of there. And then bam, injury, bam, injury, bam, injury. Oh, wait, we got to play this Wilds kid. We don't have a running back. Well, kid ended up playing in the NFL. So, I mean, I'm not saying every situation is similar or the same, but we just don't know about these other guys until they play. And obviously, Coach Loggins and that offensive staff weren't comfortable playing them the other night. I find that interesting. But maybe we'll see them this week, and maybe they can crack the code and earn some too.
I mean, that's the key there. I mean, if if you can't get them ready and you're not all right, so. And I don't want to turn this into hate the running backs coach, but
I'm not.
Results are results, right?
Yeah.
If all your players leave early as soon as they possibly can, and then you lose guys to the portal, that's because everybody's left and they've gotten the hell out of Dodge from that room as soon as they possibly could. Plus Lloyd transfers, plus Rashad Amos transfers.
Hey, do you think he'd be the starter if he stayed? I think he would.
Definitely. I mean, there's no question. I mean,
I agree.
I don't know what he did for Miami against Miami this past weekend, Miami of Ohio. That's where he went. But
I meant to look at that. I'm glad.
I'm gonna check that out. But I mean, so with Amos, it's either a naturally talent thing, or you didn't coach him up. So Quandre White left. There's reasons for that. Kevin Harris got out of Dodge as quickly as possible. Marshawn Lloyd left and got in the portal.
8 for 30.
8 carries, 30 yards. Against the Hurricanes, not bad. Almost four something a carry.
He's the starter.
So, look, I mean, that's the deal there. I mean, if you can't coach up Mario Anderson and DJ Braswell to at least be serviceable, I mean, a freshman at running back is not uncommon.
No,
right?
It's very
not
common.
Uncommon.
It's very common.
All right, so is Braswell, or is he a guy that would need some time? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of questions there, and and of course we've it's a long string of recruiting misses there too. So, like I said, not coming down on one coach over one game, but there are issues in that room. And I think you look on the other side of it, you can say, well, JC, what about the coaching on the offensive line? Yeah, I don't know that was coaching as much as just getting beat. And if there's a coaching criticism I would have, it would be, maybe, and you had to when Case and Henry got hurt. You got these injuries, you're starting to shuffle and piece things together. You need you need a solid 5 that you can go to battle with that gels. Okay, you hear that word gel a lot. If there's but then you look at who's coming in, and there are people that are like, they wanted to fire Lonnie Teasley on Saturday. That would be the dumbest thing you could possibly do. I don't care if Lonnie Teasley can't coach his way out of a paper bag as far as offensive line goes. I think he's proven he can, because he got that group a lot better last year, and the proof is in the pudding. I think they had a bad game. I don't think it has anything to do with how he can coach. But you get him an analyst that, you got Greg Atkins sitting there helping him. Get him another one, if you have to do it that way. You don't get rid of Lonnie Teasley under any circumstances, because the only chance this program's had to be elite on the offensive line is of the next 2 or 3 years. It's hard to see that now, but what's there right now in the younger classes, and then more importantly, what's coming, South Dakota's never recruited like this from a raw talent standpoint on the offensive line. I mean, it's really, really good.
No,
and the guy that's put it together is Lonnie Teasley. So the Hardesty criticism wouldn't even be there if he had 3 5-stars lined up, right? You're like, better days are coming, right? So that's the thing there. But
hey, I tell you what, I was standing next to Cam Pringle Saturday night at the game. I have never in my life felt as small as I did in that moment when I looked over and he's bigger. I've seen him in person before. Never stood right next to him. I cannot believe how big he is. And I mean, I don't even know what else to say. And it's, look, there's more to it being an offensive lineman, but clearly he has those skills or he wouldn't be where he is. But I've never seen anything. We've never at South Carolina never had an offensive line that will be here that looks like that young man. Never.
Yeah, I think the evaluators totally, especially 24/7, nitpick the crap out of him.
Oh, I don't know what they're
looking. I have no clue.
This kid
needs to lose some weight, and then I look at him on a picture on the field. He looks like a refrigerator. Guys that need to lose weight look like gigantic pears or squashes, not refrigerators.
He's the biggest thing. I've never seen anything that big. I mean, he's the biggest guy I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
So
and for everybody out there who, monitors, all the socials for every prospect there could possibly be, to say that Teasley is the wrong guy, you need to pay more close attention, because all these guys that are committed, even when it was Adkins at the helm, tag Teasley. Everyone. They all love him. You want to blow up a recruiting class? Get rid of Lonnie Teasley.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's why the coaches at schools all across the country don't put fan bases in charge of making decisions.
Yeah. There's a school in the Northwest. They're awfully fired up about their offensive coordinator hire, right?
In the Northwest.
Oh, the Northwest part of the state. My bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They are. And when we come back from break here, I'll read you the quote that one of their players just submitted to the world today. Probably not going to be shocking to many of you, but Clemson apparently didn't lose to Duke this past weekend. We are powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston, electricbikescharleston.com. If you want to be as strong as Cam Pringle one day, I don't know what you need to do to be as strong as Cam Pringle, but if you'd like to just get yourself in shape, you'll want to head to electricbikescharleston.com or Charleston Fitness Equipment, like I did, and get yourself a hydro rower. I've never been so happy working out. I'll tell you the reason for that is because I haven't worked out since 2007. It is 2023. 16 years later, we've turned over a new leaf around here because Michelle Wilkins finally gave me a piece of equipment that I don't hate, and it is fantastic. It's like the Peloton of rowing. Find them at charlestonfitnessequipment.com, part of Electric Bikes of Charleston, electricbikescharleston.com. JC, we'll get your reaction to the Tigers' loss and Ryan McGee's tweet, which was something, right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show served by Chicken Cock Whiskey.
Down here in the South, we don't always see eye to eye. While our taste in college football teams, or what sauce, if any, goes best on a rack of ribs, or what to mix with our Dixie vodka might be up for debate, we can all agree there's nothing better than a Southern tailgate. And like our favorite college teams, our ingredients come from small towns and big cities. They're grown in Southern soil, are crafted by Southern hands, and proudly represent the South in our backyard and beyond. So raise a glass of Dixie Southern Vodka to celebrate being made in America and raised in the South.
Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does the Barn Dough Company, where they can build your dream home starting as low as $160 per square foot. If you live in the Carolinas, Georgia, or Tennessee, their turnkey process takes just 4 to 6 months on average and can be custom designed by size and details. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barn Dough Company, Gamecock, owned and operated.
Hey everybody, this is Mo Copper from Carolina Football. The show is painted garden and black every day by a couple of painters. Go to letmepaintsomething.com to check them out. Go Cox.
10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. Letmepaintsomething.com.
Welcome to TravelingCountryClub.com, your modern golf club experience. Hey folks, this is Michael Manus, former Gamecock golfer, inviting you to play more golf with a membership to TravelingCountryClub.com. With over 40 courses across the Carolinas, our membership provides you with an affordable way to enjoy a club-like golf experience. From the mountains to the coast, we offer golf courses that will challenge all types of golfers, no matter your handicap level or level of play. Plus, we offer unique membership benefits not seen anywhere else as part of Traveling Country Club. Tee it up with Traveling Country Club, travelingcountryclub.com, travelingcountryclub.com, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Yeah, guys, ask Clemson fans which quarterback they'd rather have taking snaps for him, Spencer Rattler or Cade Klubnik. I bet you they would trade in a hurry. Spencer Rattler looks really, really good. We'll play a game. We played on Wednesdays called Agree or Disagree coming up in hour number 2. Pat DiMarco, though, will lead us off in hour number 2. The Tigers game the other night, JC, was very satisfying for every Gamecock fan, of course. It made them feel a little bit better. Didn't take away what happened in Charlotte, of course. I think one of the funniest moments of the night was Dave Pasch, who's great. This is not indicative of Dave Pasch in any way, shape, or form. But just, casually telling the story about how Dabo Swinney told him that his kicker, well, Coach, what's his range? It's unlimited. Well, what do you mean it's unlimited? Well, he just kicked 170 yards, and then he promptly, about a minute later, missed a 23-yard chip shot that went about 10 yards to the left of the goalpost.
Later in the broadcast, it was like, and Dabo, who's a stickler about special teams, and I openly laughed at the television at that point.
Wow. All right, I hear you. Well, so there's got to be a problem going on up there, though, guys, because Dabo's already said this week, hey, look, it was a tough day. Let's take ownership. That's what champions do. So they're champions, and they're going to take ownership of everything. And then you had, their center, Will Putnam, who, says, hey, look, outside of going 15-0, everything's still on the table, right? And but you got to credit Duke because they beat us fair and square. Oh, okay. Well, all right there. So Will Putnam speaking the truth. Can't say I disagree with him. But then you got defensive tackle Rook Orohiro, who said, sometimes these losses, they open your eyes a little bit, but, let's all be honest. Clemson got beat by Clemson. Well, now, wait a second. Who the hell was wearing the blue jerseys?
Look,
half the team thinks that Duke beat them. The other half team thinks that Clemson beat them. What's going on?
It wasn't the 54 and 5-star recruits that Clemson brought up there with them and lost with.
Look, I mean, here's the thing. All right, so I got a couple of thoughts on this game. Number one, look, the 68-yard comment certainly unlimited.
What's unlimited? Well, no, every kicker has a limit, Coach. They can't skip 1,000 yards.
You look at the box score too. I mean, Clemson sort of I mean, they ran a ton of plays. I mean, 43 pass attempts. Between Shipley, Maffa, and Klubnik, they had 40 rushing attempts. They were balanced. 422 total yards. It was just that offense. Sometimes, unfortunately, it does bog down in the red zone, and they just couldn't make it happen. Tom Luganville was who is a good friend of mine who's been on with Morgan and I.
He's a blast on the
times.
sidelines.
Yeah, he
really
mentioned when he was calling the game the other night, like, this Duke defense is fast, and they are. That's the difference between Duke now and maybe Duke under Cutcliffe, where Duke under Cutcliffe could win games. They could kind of scheme them up offensively or whatever, especially against ACC teams that weren't playing up to their potential. But they would get in a game against a Florida State or somebody like that and just get destroyed because they just did not have the speed to keep up with them. This is a different Duke team. I mean, this is you got to credit Cutcliffe and his staff toward the end with getting some guys that can develop. But I also think you really have to credit Mike Elko. I mean, when's everybody going to start talking about hiring Mike Elko?
Yeah, he's something.
Started this week. Yeah,
dude, I'm going to tell you this right now. I mean, this guy. All right, so I remember him at Wake Forest because Wake Forest one year he was the DC under Clawson. That was the year they lost to Virginia Tech 6-3 in overtime when it was 0-0 after 4 quarters. And I noticed Wake's defense. I'm like, well, you kind of know Wake is an offensive football team. This defense is pretty good. Well, then he goes to Notre Dame. Oh, that defense is really good. Oh, well, then he goes to A&M. That defense is dominant. And then he gets the Duke job. And you kind of have low expectations because the winningest coach of all time at Duke, wins-wise, left.
Mm-hmm.
And they go 9-4. And then they open this year and they beat Clemson, badly in front of a national television audience. I mean, this guy can coach, and he wins. He just wins. Like, it wasn't a beautiful artistic performance, but he looks around and says, what do we have? We got a good dual threat quarterback. We got fast backs. We got receivers that can make plays, and we have a very fast defense that if we call this defense right, it's going to bend a lot, but it ain't going to break. And that's what happened. And, Clemson, they just got beat, man. Just like South Carolina got beat, they got beat. And if you'd have told me that the 2 South Carolina teams, the 2 Power 5 teams, were going to lose to Tobacco Road by 2 and 3 touchdowns, I would have laughed my fanny off, man. I'd have been, no way, man, because that just doesn't happen, But those 2 rivals beat these 2 rivals relatively bad, and I don't even know what you do. I mean, could you we'll give Shipley the ball more? Well, hell, he touched 17 rushes and 6. I mean, Maffa had a good yards. I mean, I don't know what you do. The good news is they have Charleston Southern coming in this week.
Yeah.
So they're gonna get healed. But I'll tell you this right now, week 3 before Florida State, they got Tom Herman and the Florida Atlantic Owls coming to Death Valley. Just like this Furman game for South Carolina this weekend. Don't knock it. Don't knock Tom Herman. He's Tom Herman's where he likes to be. The underdog.
Yeah. Under the underdog. Yeah. Yeah, no expectations, nobody talking to him. Yeah, it was I mean, clearly, look, the 2 fumbles certainly hurt them, but Duke was better on Saturday, and they deserve credit, and they got it. Clemson hanging on by a thread, by the way, in the top 25 at number 25, but that could be short-lived. You mentioned CSU, and they've got Florida Atlantic following. Then they got the Noles coming to town. If Clemson opens the season 2-2, you'd venture a guess that the top 25 probably would be gone for the first time in a long time the
they have too many good players to be terrible. Clemson's not going to go to 5-7 or something like that.
Can I raise my hand on something real quick? I think this whole offensive this era of offense that has been headlined by these short, quick out route scheme, blocking scheme style of passing plays, because I don't want to call it a specific offense because they all kind of feed off of each other a little bit and evolve into this guy's offense and this guy's offense. I think that you're starting to see the end of it. I really do. Defenses, JC, you've been around football your whole life. They always figure it out, and then offenses change again, right? There's always a new fad. There's always a new trend, and then offenses change again. And guess what? So you start getting faster on offense, and then what do you do on defense? You get faster on defense, and you got to cover more space and this, that, and the other. A lot of that ends up being at the expense of being big, strong, physical, downhill where you can stop the run. Offenses start changing. They go back to running the football down your throats. You don't have the personnel to be able to handle that. It becomes more of a trend again. And then it always changes. It always shifts. I think a lot of this gimmicky crap, I think it's beginning to go away. And you're going to start seeing a little bit more of the traditional style of offense where you run the football and throw the ball downfield start coming back, just because it's kind of been a little bit of a lost art.
Keep an eye on Alabama this year and what Tommy Rees does out there. Go look at the Gator Bowl last year. Go look at Georgia last year where, yes, it's very creative. It's a very creative system, but it's less spread. It's more confined. You're not relying on guys solely to get out in space and make people miss. You're using your tight ends. That's a trend in the pros. And so that's kind of a trickle-down thing. Yeah. From the pros to there. So I think, Clemson's look at Notre Dame. By God, they had another solid. I know it was Tennessee State, but they had another. Ohio State better figure it out, or they're going down in South Bend. The Leprechauns are going to wax the floor with their behinds. And Notre Dame's played about as good as anybody in the country through 2 games. We have 2 games on them, but. And Nat just walked in and is giving me a bad look. She doesn't like for me to talk good about Notre Dame because she says it jinxes them.
Oh, well,
You in trouble.
God,
you just tell her no. We've got this is business.
This is a professional sports talk radio.
This is an AB conversation. She needs to see her way back to wherever she was.
Go back to work, honey. Yeah, she's working from home today.
And don't you sorry, Nat. Sorry about that.
Slinging insurance policies and taking names. Right?
That's what I'm talking about.
But yeah, Michael, South Carolina's offense is a pro style offense. It's more up tempo than a lot of them, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing more. Like I said, I think that the issue is not necessarily. It's not with the scheme. To me, the scheme was night and day better. It was like you watched Nebraska the other night, and you can tell. The rhythm of the play call and all that. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I think the issue is more personnel and personnel decisions. And guys, if this continues, and I hope it doesn't, I pray it doesn't. And I don't, in my gut, don't think it will. And this is my last point. I think there could be a player development issue. Guys aren't getting better.
Are you talking about South Carolina?
South Carolina. If we continue to see some of the same things we've seen, maybe there needs to be a little bit better development because guys that we expect to be better aren't quite getting there, for one reason or another. I'm not ready to call that yet, but I do think some guys are on the clock, so to speak. Some guys are on the clock.
Yeah, I look, because there certainly are guys who have developed at South Carolina.
Xavier Legette is one of them. Wow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, there's a lot of guys who've really developed here, over the last few years.
But at certain spots, I'm starting to look at it and go, why isn't this guy? And not on the O-line, individually on the O-line. I mean, he had so many new players. But certain spots, I'm starting to kind of go,
That's fair. It's fair.
Debo Williams has gotten better, too, by the way.
Hey, the linebacking core has gotten better. The secondary always develops under Torian Gray. The wide receivers have developed. There's no question about that. The quarterbacks have. I think Spencer Rattler's gotten better.
Yeah, and some of these older guys, I thought Vershawn Lee looked significantly better, but Ja'Kai struggled a little bit. Some of those guys just may be as good as they'll be on the O line.
Yeah,
I don't think we've seen a development issue there.
Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, and that conversation will include the defensive line as well as part of our agree or disagree conversation. We are teed up. Football season itself, believe it or not, is teed up by TravelingCountryClub.com. If you like to play golf, you need to play golf with TravelingCountryClub.com because you can play 45 different courses in the Carolinas. Who wouldn't want to do that? From the mountains to the seas, they got them. Myrtle Beach to Hilton Head to Columbia to the Charlotte area, Waynesville, you name it, you can do it. The Upstate, travelingcountryclub.com. Special thanks to their team for providing us with elite opportunities to play golf in North and South Carolina. We have an elite opportunity to listen to Pat DiMarco, Talkin Ball, with the former NFL all-purpose Mike Allstott style everything and Gamecock legend, up next. You're on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit tonypope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Nana's Porch, nanasporch.com. At Nana's Porch, they cater weddings, parties, and all kinds of special events. Their meals are served buffet style. In seconds, they're encouraged. Plus, they can bring their mobile food unit to bring on-site and serve your guests as a unique alternative for your catering needs. Inquire about rentals as well. nanasporch.com. Find them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. 336-259-7550.
If you're on Medicare currently or approaching eligibility, it's time to enroll in a Medicare plan that meets your needs. Palmetto Medicare is here to help you through the process. Palmetto Medicare's owner, Brian Spencer, and his team of experts are here to assist you. Learn about the benefits and enroll in a plan that will cover as many of your medical costs as possible. Some of the advantages of Medicare health plans may include a variety of plan choices, increased benefits, lower premiums, and more. Give Palmetto Medicare a call to discuss your insurance and help get the exact coverage for your needs today.
It's time for Talkin Ball with Pat DiMarco on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Part of the Chief Sports Network.
.5, Wednesday, September the 6th, headed towards week 2 of the college football season. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show, part of the Chief Sports Network. The Chief Sports Network is proudly presented by Dixie Vodka. For those that are fans of vodka, Dixie is my favorite. I've been drinking it for years, and you should too. If you head to the Chief Sports app, you can find where to find Dixie Vodka, their website, and more. Also, some pretty neat drinks. And we've got a game coming up on Saturday. So maybe pour one and stir one in preparation for the Paladins and the Gamecocks under the lights at 7:30 Saturday night. Real quick, before I get Pat in here, I do want to mention this on behalf of the university. They just tweeted this out just a little while ago. I'm pretty sure that many of you have already made the changes, but there are no changes currently between Charter and Disney and the Spectrum customers who can't watch. So, if you're planning to watch the game, unless you've got a Disney Plus account, can't do it coming up on Saturday night. So if you switch to DirecTV, Sling, Hulu, YouTube TV, Fubo TV, all those, you'll be able to watch South Carolina if you're not going to be at Williams-Brice, which you should be. But if you're not going to be, those are ways to do it. I'll just give a quick plug for YouTube TV because I've had them for a year and we love them. So with all that said, though, we bring in our version of Mike Allstott, Pat DiMarco, joining us from Columbia. What's up, brother?
That's a little bit of a stretch there, bud. I appreciate
Well,
it.
it is now because you've lost the weight, man. He used to be buff.
Yeah, back in the day when I used to do this and do that, no, that was that's always who I wanted to be growing up. But he only touched the ball about 40 more times a game than I did.
Well, look, you played in the NFL for what, 11 years, right? Was it 11?
10, but I'll take 11. If you want to give me a free one, man, I'll take it.
Yeah, let's just go with 11.
Yeah, that's a cool number anyways.
With some of your injuries and stuff, it would have been at least 11. So we'll settle on 11. And
it could have been. It could have been 20. I could have been on the Tom Brady train.
Well, Tom Brady probably could still go play. I don't know how, but he can.
Not a doubt in my mind. He's, I mean, just his.
Did you ever talk to him? Playing against him? Did you ever talk to him?
After games, a couple times, he would kind of give me a shout out. Hey, 42, I thought you played really well, man. I love your game. I just kind of looked at him like, what?
Yeah.
What? You're talking to me?
Dude, that's awesome.
No, honestly, one of the cooler ones that I that kind of experienced after a game was Sean Payton. When I was in Atlanta, he would stop me every time after we played the Saints, and he would just basically, hey man, we show our fullbacks, our tight ends, our running backs, we show them a lot of your tape, how you pass protect, how you flow in the run game, how you fit blocks. Like, just letting you know, man, I'm a huge fan of you, proud of you. And I was like, well, bro, I'm going to be a free agent here in about 2 years, so give me a holler.
Right. Yeah. Well, Sean Payton is coaching Adkins now, right?
Yes.
He's in Denver, right?
In Denver, and he made the 53, man. I mean, I knew it was going to take him being in a good fit system, guy that kind of runs the H-back, fullback, kind of hybrid type role that I played. I knew it was going to take something like that because he's not a 6'5", 4'6" tight end. He's a good blocker, but he is undersized for that position. But he is really good, man. When he sets his hands, how he has just knowledge of the game, being a coach's son, he just had a really good feel. I think that kid, if he's continually given the chance, he's going to have, I think, a pretty similar career to myself.
I hope so. I saw his dad over the summer, and not speaking as a dad, speaking of as a football coach, he was pretty sure that Nate would break through, and he was right. They've done nothing but rave about him. All right, Pat, let's roll it back to Saturday night. Gamecocks fall 31-17. I've watched this game 1.5 times since then, and just trying to make sure that I understood what I was seeing on Saturday. So let's start with the offense for Carolina. We do have a couple of video hits we'll bring up here in just a minute, but wanted to get your quick thoughts on. Clearly, they didn't run the football well the other night, but your quick thoughts on what you saw out of Spencer Rattler, and anything maybe as the football mind that you are that is noticeably different from what we've seen the last few years around here.
Yeah, I mean, first game's always tough. You never know what you're going to get. It's your first time kind of playing a different opponent. You're amped up. You're fidgety. Your nerves are going. Let's be real. This is a lot of guys on the field's first time playing SEC football, which is a big step up and a huge kind of eye opener. They'll get more familiar. And granted, they played ACC football, but still big time Division I college football. And not to mention, I mean, North Carolina looked really good too. Let's not downplay that. That's a good football team we lost to. And as bad as we played at times, I was sitting there with 2 minutes to go, and I'm like, wow, man, if we score here, get an onside kick, this could get really interesting. But I mean, I thought Spencer played really good. Granted, he got teed off on. 9 sacks, a bunch of pressures, but I thought he played at an elite level. Him and other people are the reason why that was still a football game. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you can't ask one guy to carry the team. So, I mean, the run game has got to get going. That can't happen. You have to be efficient on first and second down to set up easy third down conversions and stay on the field. You look at the second drive. I mean, the first drive we went, I think it was 3 and out, and we lost yards on on 2 plays in a row. I think we lost yardage, but second drive, man, we came out slinging. Confidence. Spencer throwing the ball down the field, making big plays, converting on third and medium, leads to a score. So it's kind of all about sparking it early, getting the chains going, getting the guys in the groove. I mean, going 3 and out is brutal on everybody. Offense, defense, it's a buzzkill, all that good stuff. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement. I think I listened to Coach Beamer's press conference yesterday. There's an urgency to get better, and there needs to be, because I think we were all expecting a little better result than we got there. But it's game 1. It's a long season, and as we all know, it's tough to win in college football in general. So on to the next. We got Furman coming up here. Got to go out there and play well and show who the better football team is. That's, when you play these teams that come in and you're circled on their schedules, like we're playing a big SEC school, they're circled, man. Unlike the vice versa, where you can't look over a team like this. So a lot of room for improvement. We got to get better and very fast, because in 2 weeks we play the big Georgia Bulldogs. And I mean, any given Saturday, anybody can win, but it's going to be tough if we play the same way we played last week.
Yeah. Before we get to a clip or two from the game too, you mentioned Spencer kind of running around out there, and I think he had 16 QB hurries. We know he had 9 sacks. How does you've been a part of enough games in your career, both at the collegiate level and at the NFL level, when a quarterback at any rate feels uncomfortable snapping the football? How does that affect it? I mean, they're all a little bit different because we're talking about people here, but kind of walk us through just a general sense of how that affects the quarterback and ultimately how it ends up affecting the offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lonely feeling back there if you know every time you drop back and if you're taking more than 3 steps, you're going to get hit. I mean, that's not fun in any regard. Shoot, I'd sit there, and if Weston, my son, was playing when he's 10 years old, he's playing football and he can't take more than 3 steps and get rid of a ball, or any kid out there, you're like, I don't know if that's a good idea for this kid to just get smoked all the time. But I mean, but he's a confident kid and he's a competitor. I'd say kid, young man. I mean, he's played a lot of football, so this isn't the first time he's been hit and knocked down. He's gotten back up and he's overcome. So I would imagine that, the past is in the past. He can't sit back. He can't sit there and think about last week, this week. He can't sit there and think, oh man, I got to watch the rush. I got to worry about tackle play, guard play, wherever the falls were last week. He can't think about that stuff anymore. He's got to move on and go out there. And I think Coach Loggins is probably going to put a bigger emphasis on pass protection, get the ball out of your hands, confidence plays, get ahead of the sticks, a lot of stuff like that. So, I mean, I would imagine there's going to be, I'm going to repeat Shane Beamer again, but a lot of urgency to get better from all aspects of it. Run the ball, pass protect, get rid of the ball at the quarterback position, and just be efficient. I mean, Spencer threw for 350. Like you can't ask for too much more.
Well, he might have thrown for a whole lot more had a couple of balls been caught and he had not been running around. One of them that was caught is this one here down the sideline early in the game, kind of a heave up to Xavier Leggett. And you talk about a kid who has really evolved as a wide receiver over the last few years. First of all, I've talked to you privately about Xavier Leggett. He's an outstanding person, an outstanding kid, Pat. But he has learned to play at this level like some of the best do. And, going up and high pointing the football and ultimately, I guess I don't know if we're having some trouble with that or not, but can you see that there?
Yeah, it's not running, but I mean, when it comes to Xavier Leggett, he has all the tools. Like he has the size, the speed, the physicality, the lateral quickness, the strength, the body control. Like he has all that. It was just time for all of that stuff to come to fruition on the football field, and really for him to get his number called. I think that was more the big thing. And you see his number gets called, and he had 9 for 170. that's a big day.
Yep.
And you think like that's without having. I mean, he was the primary this week, but that's without having the all SEC preseason pick out there too. So I mean, he was circled. I imagine the second half, they're like, "Hey, find 17. If 3's not on the field, find 17."
Yep.
So, but I mean, I looked at some of these plays, so I can kind of talk about it if the video doesn't work. But I mean, on this play, it was 1st and 10. It was coming out and it ended up being, I don't know if we can get the video going, but it was a 7-man protection. So the tight end stayed in. Back was in protection too. You had 2 double teams. So the tight end and the right tackle were double teaming the backside defensive end. The left tackle and left guard were in a slide. So there was 2 for 1 there as well. So you got to think Max Pro. You had DK coming through the line of scrimmage, and I think he might have got a chip or at least skimmed the guy that was rushing the center. Yeah, here it is. So I mean, you got 7 guys in protection, so you got a lot of time. You have a lot of confidence, and X, it's literally just a go ball. It's a 50-50 ball, and Spencer knows that I've done this with X a bunch. So let me give him a shot to go up and make a play. X tried to stack him. He couldn't quite stack him. They were about even with each other, but X got in a dominant position, went up there and high pointed the ball. I mean, that's like the epitome of right there being able to track the football, getting in a dominant position. Went up and made the play. Yeah, I mean, that is perfect. And then securing the ball to the catch, taking it all the way to the ground. You see every DB's in America is taught as the receiver's coming to the ground or as he's bringing the ball in, just get your hand in there and do whatever the heck you can. So he took 2 hands and finished the catch, and that's big-time football. I mean, if he can go make those plays for us the rest of this year, man, I remember talking to NFL scouts last year. They'd ask about some of the other guys, and I'd be like, hey, man, there's one of them that just looks a little different and runs a little different and just has a big-time presence about him, and that's number 17. He's probably not on any of your radars because he hasn't played that much or had his opportunity, but the world's awake now, and now scouts have him circled. So I'm really excited for that kid. Like you said, he's a great young man. He's been through some stuff in his life, and I think if we can keep feeding him the ball and getting juice back to open up more options, like it's gonna be big.
Yeah, those 2 guys out wide would be absolutely fantastic. And so right after that, this is early in the game. North Carolina had already scored. Pat, this was, I think, the second drive for South Carolina in the game here, and we'll try to get this one going where, and I thought this was probably their best drive of the game, by the way. That first touchdown that was scored, I think it was 8 plays, 75 yards or something like that. They went right downfield and kind of slowing it down here so you can kind of see some of the blocking schemes and things like that. But Rattler there with a good pocket, he throws it across the middle. He's got Trey Knox down at the 5-yard line.
Yep. I mean, you have, I believe they blitzed one there. So we were in 5-man pro. DK was free release, and that's kind of that's a 2-man concept up here at the top. Looks like Trey Knox. It's 3rd and 7, so you got to get past the sticks. So they ran Trey Knox. I think he's on a basic here, maybe a skinny post, but basically you're banking on him winning. You see the safety kind of cheated over on the other hash. So, you got 2-on-2 over here on this side, and you're banking on either Trey Knox winning on this basic or skinny post or DK winning on the angle route. And I mean, you want to throw the ball past the sticks here. So Trey Knox goes and steps on the defender's toes, breaks inside, and 6'6", 250 goes up and makes a big play. Holds on during a big hit, and that tees you up 1st and goal at the 4. And yeah, I mean, but you can tell, like what you just talked about, this drive, everything was clicking. So Spencer's confidence, I think, look at the kid. The kid's, if they don't score on this drive, that ain't good, just with his confidence and his charisma going in. So, I mean, confidence is a mother. And this drive was definitely a very confident drive. This play right here with DK, I wish you had the ends. I mean, I'm used to watching it where I have 3 different angles. I have side, front, and back. So I can kind of critique. I can see where their eyes are at and all that stuff. I mean, I love watching all this tape, but from this angle, you got numbers. It's a zone read. They're reading the backside defensive end. Trey Knox arc releases, so he's either going to pull the defensive end out or the safety out, and Spencer's just reading that backside defensive end. And he slow plays it, so it's an automatic give. And then if you rewind it back, there's nobody on the play side. There's not a second level player on the play side at all. So, I mean, if DK doesn't score here, then JB, you might be the one that needs to go in there and play running back for the Gamecocks. Because
it was that easy.
You got numbers, you got leverage. I mean, you have everything under the sun on this play. But that goes in, like, I wasn't a good football player because I was bigger, stronger, faster, more athletic than everybody. I understood the game, and I took my pre-snap reads, and I lived and died by them. And here, pre-snap read tells me I got to press the front side because there's nobody over there. And if my center just reaches that shade, nobody's going to touch me. And Vershawn reached the shade there, and Ja'Kai worked up to the second level, was able to get a piece of that backside linebacker, and it was a walk-in. So, yeah, I mean, it's when you got good angles and you got numbers, good plays happen. So, I mean, this was a confidence drive. This was second drive, get them back in the game. Going 3 and out the first drive is never fun when you get the ball. But to be able to come back here and answer was big, especially with as easy as North Carolina went down and scored on their first drive.
Yeah, look, I wanted to make sure that we highlighted that first drive here. Again, I know that South Carolina lost the game 31-17, and largely, well, they couldn't run the football. Not largely, they period the end could not run the football Saturday night. But there were some things that happened, and wanted to get your thoughts on all of it, the good and the bad. That drive there was largely good, and we'll here in just a second. We've got a little bit more that we're going to get to on the South Carolina side of things that was good. And there's one play in particular that once we get it up on the screen, you'll really like it. And I just wonder how often we're going to use this. It reminded me a little bit of some things that Coach Spurrier used to be around here. But Pat, I as it pertains strictly to the offensive line, and here we go. So stop right there, Phil. Don't fast forward. What are offensively? What type of set are they in there?
They're in a 2x2 condensed set here.
Okay.
So balanced set, 2x2. Obviously, you got your 7 guys in the line of scrimmage. Those are the 2 outside receivers. Then you have 2 wing players. One, I believe that's Josh Simon, and the other one is Marion Brown. But you're in a pistol set here too, so that kind of takes away tendencies where the ball is going. When you run wide zone, you're generally away. You run tight zone, you're generally 2. Duo, you're generally 2. So it's this kind of, puts the defense in oh shit mode. They can do a lot of stuff out of this set.
Okay, go ahead, Phil. Let it go too, because this is a pretty unique play here, Pat. And I don't know if this is this common in the NFL, this type set?
Very common. Yes, okay. This is especially in the evolution of the game right now, where wide zone, mid zone is at a premium. This is just a very simple play pass keeper game concept here. It's basically crosses. We talked about it maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, a lot of the kind of flashing backside, slicing backside, blocking down with the backside tight end. This play right here, when it comes, like you talk about the offensive line, this play right here protects the offensive line, gives them confidence. It is basically the way it was coached up when I was in Atlanta. We ran a lot of this stuff. Was the offensive line turn and run and knock the crap out of whoever's in your inside gap.
Okay.
Not much thinking, not much else. Just go and chase it and sell the run. So you look at the offensive line, they're going. Hats are flying. They're trying to put an emphasis on that backside defensive end. And you see AB. That's not a position where you really want AB to go down there and seal a backside defensive end, right? But because of the run action, because of the left tackle coming down so hard, that defensive end is squeezing because he's a C-gap player. So AB comes and condenses down just to make him think, oh, shoot, I'm trying to get pinned. And then Spencer rolls out the backside. I had a question on this, on if, just seeing this play, on maybe if Juice ran the right concept here, because it seemed like, just from everything I know, is you want kind of a high-low with Josh and Juice coming across on this concept. And it seems like with the throwback to X there, it seems pretty – it's a 3-level throwback on the backside. You got Juice high, you got X in the middle, and then you got the back in the flat. Usually when you see this concept, you see where it's a high-low on both sides, where here you would be reading if X was across, or not X, if Juice was across the field on the other side, you'd be high-low in that corner safety. But who knows? Maybe this is a concept I haven't seen where you kind of flood the backside, but usually it's flood play side. But I mean, this is a perfect play call, perfect setup, and if you're more efficient running the ball, you have this in the third quarter, you have this in the fourth quarter, you have all this stuff. But if you can't run the ball, defense can sit back and say, I'll give you 4 yards, and we'll make the play. So, I mean, it just goes into the emphasis of running the ball, getting downhill to be able to set this type of stuff up. This is early on. So here we go. I mean, AB, look at this matchup on a defensive end. That's not good. And then X just kind of stays the course. You see, usually I would think Juice would have cleared out the other side of the field, but maybe this is a new concept, and shoot, I like it though.
It did work, and I thought it was one of the more unique plays that was run by the Gamecocks on Saturday night as well. And then coming up here, or go ahead, Phil. You can go ahead and let it rip. But now that you bring up the Juice Wells situation, they're kind of being right above him after the play was completed. I don't know the difference, but it certainly makes.
Yeah, I mean, I would have done more on the backside, just kind of seeing more of the concept stuff. But either way, that's a first down Gamecocks that just get the ball to your playmakers. I mean, that was getting the ball to X in space there. And one thing I highlighted here was Juju's 172 pounds, and Juju pushes Xavier Legette 8 yards more forward on this play.
Yeah,
and that's
what are your thoughts on Juju, by the way, as a football player? What do you like about him?
From an instinct standpoint, he's just a really good football player. He's a little undersized, but he plays with a big old heart. I mean, 172 pounds here, and just basically grabs X and says, "Let's go. We're not done yet." You can win with guys like that. I'm a huge fan of Juju. Good patience, good football IQ. Probably the most natural runner in that room, just because he's done it for a long time. So I'd love to see him get more involved. But I mean, being 175 pounds, 180 pounds, it's it's a big boy league. And how many licks can you really take at that weight? So, but he's a competitor, just like he showed in the bowl game. He will give you everything he's got. I mean, look at him. That's what you got to love. Like, he loves football so much. He's chasing the ball. He's driving the play. If I'm sitting there and I'm grading that tape, usually you just get a plus or minus. He's getting a plus there because he didn't have to get involved in that. But he did. That's the type of effort stuff that you need to see from all 11. If you want to win SEC championship games, national championship games, you need 11 guys playing with that effort.
Phil, fast forward to the next clip here, so we can kind of move this sucker along and we can get Pat out of here. It's 12:30. It's time for a sandwich at the DiMarco house.
The baby just got home from school, so you might hear a little chaos here shortly.
So here we go on the defensive side for South Carolina, North Carolina here, driving inside the 35-yard line. Gamecocks up 14-10, and this was a pretty critical point in the game here. And that's Keenan Nelson, who gets beat, Pat, for a touchdown. Now,
first thing that jumps off the tape to me is it's 2nd and 4. So kind of you have your will at whatever you want to do. You're ahead of the sticks. You're not forced into pass. You're not forced into run. So we got 7 guys playing the run. So we're in single high man. And you better buckle up. You better play big boy ball here because nobody can get past you here. And Keenan has outside leverage. He's in a great spot. And I mean, it goes into the next view later, but you see that it's run action. So it's a full on RPO. Like, you see the lines blocking. It's not a flat out pass. This is RPO. He's reading. And this receiver just goes and steps on his toes, gives him an inside nod, and just beats him outside. I mean, you have to play to your leverage, and I'm sure T. Gray and Clayton White or all those guys are telling him, you got outside leverage. We have you lined up on his outside half. You can't get beat outside. Like, that is your only job. If you force him inside, there's no play on the ball. But I mean, 2nd and 4, you're ahead of the sticks. You can kind of run at your will. We're in single high man. You're vulnerable in those spots, but because they're so efficient running the ball, we have to have an extra hat in the game, or an extra hat down there in the box. So, yeah, I mean, it would make our life on offense a lot easier if we could add that extra hat and make that box heavy, so we could let our receivers run loose just like they did.
13:03 to go in the game here, Pat. South Carolina down 31-14, a 3rd and goal. A touchdown would have been a big deal. Would have gotten it to a still a 2-possession game, but it would have been 31-21. And you know, as the tape kind of goes here, we'll see that this didn't work out. They ended up needing to kick a field goal here, and literally the reason this play is on the screen is because this happened all day long to Spencer Rattler. Just a bunch of pressure, tried to get out of there and couldn't get out of there. And it's really more about protecting the quarterback in this clip here, Pat. What was it that was so consistently and persistently good for the Tar Heels up front?
I mean, I think they played with speed up front. They really put a lot of stress on those tackles. They went and set a tight edge and set it quick. I mean, on that play right there, we were in a 6-man pro, so that means we had the five offensive linemen and Juju in protection. And they brought 5, so they blitzed a backer, and they were in man coverage. And you see, I mean, number 77 there, I think that is that Fugar? He just drops his head a little bit. I mean, it's a tendency that a lot of players have, and it's hard to do, especially when you're going against a really good premier pass rusher there. But if he holds up and just makes that guy run the hump, Spencer steps up here, and I mean, you look here. I mean,
a guy wide open.
Omega Blake wins, but he wins late. I mean, a big emphasis in football.
That's Omega in the back of the end zone, right? Right there. Okay.
Omega's, but it's late, right? It's not. I mean, that route, everything happens faster in the low end. You have to win. You have to win right away. Now, if that pressure is not there, he spits it to Omega and he's wide open. But you look, Omega tries to get inside, doesn't get inside, throws him back out, goes and wraps around him. I mean, you're probably a second and a half late there, and that's the type of game it is, especially down here condensed. But I mean, you look there. I mean, Vershawn got a little top heavy too, and he dropped his head. So I mean, it's week 1, right? No reason to panic. But this is all stuff that can get cleaned up. I mean, Spencer steps up in the pocket. He does what he's supposed to do. But and honestly, he might have broke that tackle from 25, but 0 fell off and was able to clean him up too. So yeah, I mean, that's a pivotal point. You have to score touchdowns in the red zone. Especially in low red. You get inside the 10, you need 7 points. You know, you get inside the 30 and you sit there and you say, we need to walk away with at least 3 here. But when you get inside the 10, you say, I need 7. And, you know, we were, I think in the second half, we were down there in the red zone 3 times and walked away with 3 points. So that's not winning football. And it equated to a loss. But as Coach McDermott in Buffalo said, and I know a lot of fans don't want to hear this, you either win or you learn. And that's a big thing. And, you know, sitting there as a player, I was like, yeah, funny, we just got our ass kicked. But it's true. I mean, there's so many learning points to all this stuff, and I'm sure that the coaches have watched this 100 times, and they've probably been sick to their stomach at times watching it. But I can promise you that these guys are going to clean it up, and they're going to go out there, and there's going to be a heck of a lot better product out there on Saturday. And boys, I'm going to be there too. I'm taking Weston and one of his buddies, so I'll be my first game ever watching a football game in the stands at Williams-Brice Stadium.
All right.
Oh, wow. First time in the stands. Wow.
It's going to be weird.
It is weird.
That's a big moment for parents, man. That's what somebody asked me not long ago. Why do you spend all that money? I said, because this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people like to ride bikes, some people like to paint. You know, everybody likes to do their own thing. That's fine. Well, we like to go watch the Carolina Gamecocks. And even when they lose, guess what? We still go watch the Carolina Gamecocks. We did it for 21 straight when they lost 20 years ago. So
yeah, I got
that's awesome, man.
Went to a Bills game last year and a Falcons game last year with Weston and sat in the stands. And so much fun. I mean, he's 7 now, so he was 6 last year with all that. But he's tuned in, man. He's into the game. He's watching the plays. He's seeing this. He's questioning, why do they do this? Why do they do that? man, that guy stinks. Man, that guy's a rock star. And then you get the music going.
That's awesome.
We were up at Lake Toxaway watching the game last weekend. We were up there for Labor Day weekend, and I let Weston and Sutton, so my 7-year-old and 5-year-old, stay up to watch Sutton stayed up and watched the first drive, and then Weston stayed up for the first half. And both teams come running out of the tunnel, and my 5-year-old little girl, Sutton, jumps up when North Carolina runs out of the tunnel, and she's boo, screaming and chanting them. And then Carolina runs out, and I turn on 2001 Sandstorm, and she's sitting there in her little nightgown. She takes her nightgown down and starts waving it over her head.
That's awesome.
This is what it's about.
That's what it's about.
That's right. They're Gamecock kids. So we're excited. We're going to be out there. We're going to be tailgating over in Gamecock Park Saturday before the game, and going to be there. Going to be loud and rowdy, cheering on a win over the Paladins.
Well, I'm going to go by Mike's on Saturday, so if you walk over there, I'll just text you, and we'll try to catch up.
We will link up for sure.
I was over there doing the show on Friday, and I left my favorite water bottle, so I have to go over there and get it. I've been missing that thing for 5 days. It's the only thing that makes me drink water all day. So that's
I got my Mumbo Jumbo one right here. Finished one. I'm on second.
I'll be in that vicinity on Saturday myself. So
Well, Pat, JC, and Mad Dog and myself this past Saturday, we had to take more selfies with people that we don't know than we've ever taken before at this tailgate up there. I had a guy come ask me for a selfie, and I said, "You want it of this guy who I was standing with?" And he didn't know who he was, but I did. His name's Mark Bryan, and I was like, "That's Mark Bryan from Hootie and the Blowfish," and he. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, can we get a picture? I was like, well, I guess so. Yeah, that's all right.
Look at you, JD.
No, it's so when we walk around with you, then JC, you and Pat, you and I, we'll just be the ones holding JC's jock strap. Nobody know who we are. Everybody knows who JC is.
Bro, I hide at tailgates, man. If it's not like a sponsored event, I'm like, I just like to hang out with my friends. So.
That's right.
I'm 215 now, so I can go right under the radar. I'll put on a Carolina hat.
Yeah.
As long as Weston's not wearing a 47 DiMarco jersey, I'm in the clear. Man.
That's good. Well, I'm glad you tell you that first game with your kid has to be special. So that's I'm happy for you, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. It will be. We were 0-2 last year when I went to games with him. So hopefully we can counter that and start off 2023 with a bang. Start off 1-0.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, we looking forward to it. There's no doubt. Great stuff today, as always, Pat. Hopefully next week we'll have a few more plays to talk about on the winning side of things. And Dow Loggins today, being very honest, say, hey, we are a work in progress up front. Spencer Rattler covered up a lot of mistakes last week. Could have been worse. And hopefully it gets better quickly. But we'll talk about all that next week. I'll see you this weekend. As always, really appreciate it.
Sounds good. Go Cox. See y'all.
There you go. Pat DiMarco, the great Pat DiMarco here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. If you're headed to the ball game this weekend, you need to head to Gamecock Traditions. Or you can go to GamecockTraditions.com and order online. It's a big deal because they send it right to your house. And nobody out there has as much as Gamecock Traditions does at the prices that they do. They have new arrivals every week. We'll highlight a lot of those around here. They always have something on clearance as well. But I often get asked the question, where do you get your Carolina stuff? In Charleston? Or where do you get your Carolina stuff? I'm in Greenville. And I always tell them the same thing. Go to GamecockTraditions.com, order it. They will send it to your house. And we can't thank Scott and Kevin and that whole gang enough for being a part of what we do here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Order today, Gamecock Traditions. They are out there in Lexington, GamecockTraditions.com. Also, by the way, on our app, if you'd like to view their entire repertoire of what they have in their inventory. All right, when we get back, agree or disagree, Phil and JC have 3 bold statements that they will each give their opinion on. Right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show from the Signorama Studios.
Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on 2 wheels. Magnum, Velotric, Aventon bikes, and more. And they sell to consumers all across the state and offer outstanding warranties and service after the sale. 5 levels of pedal assist plus a throttle help you handle the southern heat better, but still get great exercise. Bikes are available all ages and sizes. ElectricBikesCharleston.com or stop into their store in Mount Pleasant. Electric Bikes of Charleston, powering Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Bikes on Charleston! Electric Bikes in Charleston! Electric Bikes in Charleston! Electric Bikes in Charleston! Bikes on Charleston!
Golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. In-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington. Half-hour, hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter at Mayor Taylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer.
Down here in the South, we don't always see eye to eye. While our taste in college football teams, or what sauce, if any, goes best on a rack of ribs, or what to mix with our Dixie vodka might be up for debate, we can all agree there's nothing better than a Southern tailgate. And like our favorite college teams, our ingredients come from small towns and big cities. They're grown in Southern soil, are crafted by Southern hands, and proudly represent the South in our backyard and beyond. So raise a glass of Dixie Southern Vodka to celebrate being made in America and raised in the South.
Chicken cock originated in Kentucky, like so many other bourbons. And so the resurrection of it, Paris, Kentucky, that's the county seat of Bourbon County. So much of this whiskey was being made in that Bourbon County, put on ships and barges and shipped down Ohio, down the Mississippi, and got to New Orleans, where it got distributed all over the world. And people kept saying, well, hey, I want some more of that whiskey from Bourbon County. And so that's how bourbon whiskey got its name. And chicken cock originated actually in Paris, Kentucky, which is today Bourbon County.
If you're in the upstate of South Carolina and are in need of residential real estate services, Cindy Bass Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane is for you. Ask her about the village at Creekside, all of her listings in my hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina, right there on Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a lifelong Gamecock fan. And many of our listeners have already bought homes from her and been 100% satisfied with the detail and care she uses. Cindy Searfoss, 864-414-5271, Caldwell Banker Kane in the upstate for your real estate needs.
Building your dream home is often just that, a dream, and sometimes a nightmare. But at the Barn Dough Company, they commit to quality and build without sacrifice. Customization, open floor plans, limitless flooring options, maintenance-free and easy installation perks, and affordability are just a few reasons why they've been named one of the best builders in the U.S. Believe in your dreams. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barn Dough Company, Gamecock owned, Gamecock operated.
Hey everybody, this is Mo Copper from Carolina Football. The show is painted garnet black every day by a couple of painters. Go to letmepaintsomething.com to check them out. Go Cox.
10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. letmepaintsomething.com. The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks!
this crowd, the atmosphere that's going to be in that stadium, ready to explode, just as they do each time their fighting Gamecocks are introduced.
And so this frenzied crowd ready for the kickoff. And the rave breaks out in Columbia.
And what you're about to see is a spectacle unto itself. Let's enjoy.
All right, Phil. Like Saturday night.
Oh, yeah.
At Williams-Brice Stadium. Whoa.
Oh, wow.
We got big real quick.
Oh, it's not.
All right, 12:47. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show.
That's what people said about me when I moved to Chicago. You got big real quick.
You got
Oh man! By the way, I had a good time hanging out with you two goobers for a couple of days up in.
Dude, it's on again this weekend, Jamie.
Yeah, but that's
it's on again this weekend, and perhaps the next. I mean, I don't know, but it's on. This season, it's on.
I'm only coming up Saturday for the game, coming back after it Saturday night because my family leaves the following Friday for 10 days, so I won't see them for a while.
No.
And so I'm just going to go up to the game and then come back afterwards. Not spending the night this weekend.
All right, cool.
I'll still see you. Yeah.
I'll be at Chateau Jernigan.
Yeah, I hear. Well, then I'll definitely see you. You'll be right next to me.
Yeah, I'll be right next to you.
Real quick here, just a quick update from some things that Dow Loggins has said today. Basically talking about the intensity and how it's been up this week. They're big on pride. They're working on that. Talking about the run game. He says screens and three-step drops can also kind of be a run play. If that's kind of the way of the NFL, if you know what he's talking about there. But they're looking at everything: scheme, personnel, running back by committee, the whole 9 yards. On UNC claiming, I know somebody, JC, was asking your opinion earlier. Why don't we just ask the opinion of the offensive coordinator who was asked about it today by David Cloninger? Dow Loggins said that there were probably a couple of plays that some tendencies that were tipped to the Tar Heels, just as they are in every game, pretty much any team out there. But mostly when they were down 17 points, of course, it was going to be a pass play. He said there were other times when defenders had their finger in the air for a pass play and Carolina ran it. So that's probably a little bit blown out of proportion. And then he went on to say, as much as we self-scout, it was my first game, our O-line coach's first game, and a lot of players' first game. And he specifically says here the UNC comments on that have been overblown. So there you go from Dow Loggins.
Whenever a team appears to know what's coming, I mean, I've seen this so many times. Defensive players in the postgame will say that. I've heard Carolina players say that before. We knew it was coming. And look, I'll say this. Gene Chizik prepared quite well. And you got to tip your hat to Gene Chizik. I mean, it's been a while since old Geno's dialed up a pretty good defense, right? What, Texas back in the day? But, hey, he's a veteran coach, and you can tell they worked awfully hard on it all summer and knew where to attack Carolina. I don't think it's scheme versus scheme so much as if they were tipped off by something, I think – and people ask about Freddie Kitchens, personnel tendencies. Like, okay, well, watch 55 because he may do that. I'm not pointing out – I'm not saying Ja'Kai did this. Just, for example, pick a number, 62, whatever. Watch 63 – he may move his toe this way when it's pat, because as a coach, if you're around a program for a while, you watch them practice every day, you pick up on that. So if there were any kind of tendencies they picked up on, it was individual players, not so much the scheme. And that's hard to coach out of. I mean, it's hard to, you got 11 guys out there, but I don't think anything to do with the scheme, and a lot of folks, myself included. I mean, we all kind of look at it sometimes through the Xbox lens where, okay, this call versus this call works based on this, and everybody does the same thing. You keep in mind, these are 11 individual players out there, as Pat pointed out. By the way, that was a great segment, by the way. Just wanted to say that.
I'm glad we were able to pull that off with the video too.
Yeah. Mike mentions in the chat box draw play. I think draw play could work. Draw play could work.
One of the things yesterday is like, throw a draw in, just keep them off balance. I don't know. I have a feeling that we're going to see some stuff this weekend that we did not see Saturday, just because this offensive coordinator has been around the block a few times. Maybe not in college, but he has on another level.
Yeah, I think you're going to see more players, Bill. I mean,
I
hey,
got
look,
more
in the NFL, if you don't play well, they put another guy in there.
Yeah.
I think that was going to be fun. There's a lot I liked a whole lot more than I did not like. A lot of it's execution and all that good stuff. Speaking of execution, if you guys want some high-end clothing to go to the game, you want to go in style, you want to look snazzy like the three of us did on Saturday, go check out Perry at Britain's. Walk in there, talk to him. Perry is not online. You have to go in. You can call him up. He can hook you up. He can mail it to you. But it's right there on Divine Street. We are dressed by Britain's. Not every day because we have to do laundry. But most days we're dressed by Britain's right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Certainly thank Perry for his support, not only of the show, but Carolina Rise and all the other stuff he does. So go by there on Divine Street in Columbia, see Britain's. They got some really, really swanky stuff. You got the cocky Shane Beamer. If you watch his coaching show, Britain's dresses him for every single coaching show every Sunday. So did want to mention him. Perry's a good guy. In fact, he is just as disappointed in the loss this past weekend as the rest of us. Just wasn't too happy. So there we go with that. But let's do a little agree or disagree.
Perry, for what it's worth, by the way, you dressed all three of us for our dinner at Duckworth's on Friday night. JC and I looked like twins, and Phil looked better than both of us. So
yeah, and it was almost triplets because Phil almost wore.
They're like the three amigos.
Yeah, we all have the cocky polo. We almost all three wore that out to Duckworth's. Like it's like the Hangover. We're the three best friends that anyone ever had.
That's right. By the way, shout out to Coach Joey Mills from Cheraw, South Carolina.
That's right.
Saw the Mills family there, and good people. North Carolina fans, but good people. All right, Phil, agree or disagree? It's our ever increasingly popular segment that we do every Wednesdays, taking the U.S. by storm. We'll start with you. Juju McDowell will receive the majority of the carries this week against Furman. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Phil disagrees. Phil
carries specifically, right? Yeah, no.
Carries, not yards, carries. No. Phil disagrees. Okay, that is going on the Juju McDowell bulletin board. Phil does not believe in you. Okay. All right. Down to JC. JC, again, these are bold statements, not true or false. JC, the defensive line is as big of a concern as the offensive line. Agree or disagree?
Disagree, but not by much.
Right, yeah. It's close.
Now, look, I've watched these guys play for 3 years. They need to step it up. I mean, bottom line, they're all individually talented enough to play better.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest.
I see it with Zach Pickens in the NFL. I mean, he's playing
I've had
better.
Enough.
I mean,
I've had enough. I mean,
step it up.
I've had enough. These guys have been really talented the last few years. And every year we get excited about another big timer that they sign there. And I just continue to feel like they underperform. And I don't know what the answer is, but I know when they go to the NFL or when they go to other schools, they perform well. And it's past time. I mean, this even on down years, this school has a tradition of having guys that get to the quarterback. They've put tons of them into the NFL. That's enough. Go do what you're supposed to do. Maybe we'll see some of that starting this weekend. All right, Phil. Spencer Rattler will throw for 300 or more yards again this week versus Furman. Agree or disagree?
I faded him last week, and he threw that on his bulletin board and proved me wrong. So, no, I think he throws for more than 300 against Furman.
Agree.
Not that it's going to be an easy task. This is an experience-laden team rolling in here on Saturday.
Yeah, no question.
But I think we see the game plan kind of lend itself more to Spencer slinging it than we do the ground game.
All right, JC. Xavier Legette is wide receiver 1.
Disagree. I still think it's Juice Wells, but I think he's wide receiver 1A. And they're different guys. I mean, you got.
Well, then that's wide receiver 1, and you agree.
you got those two on the outside, and then you got
if you're 1A and 1B, that's still 1, dude. So you're agreeing or disagreeing?
Disagree.
Is he 1 or 2?
I'm not putting him ahead of Juice. I'm just not. I mean, that's one. Xavier's caught 16 balls his last 2 games, though. Think about that. The catch total for the last 2 is Xavier Leggett 16.
You know
Juice
what else?
Wells 5.
You know what else is 16 the last 3 games? Number of sacks Spencer Rattler has gone down. That's atrocious. It's been a problem. It hasn't gotten any better. Okay, all right. So you are going on the Xavier Leggett board of I don't believe in you. Okay. All right. Phil, South Carolina will hold Furman under 125 yards rushing this week. Agree or disagree? I'm with you, Clint. 1B. Thank you. Good job, Clint. My man, who I got to meet this weekend. I'm very pleased to meet Clint. What a great guy.
Under 125 on the ground?
Yes. South Carolina will hold Furman. The Paladins under 125. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Oh, Phil coming in hot. All right, boys. We've got a believer from Mad Dog. Well done. And finally, JC, this is not a South Carolina question. It's a North Carolina question based on what you saw this past weekend. North Carolina will win at least 9 games.
Agree. I think that's legit. Will they win? I don't know much more than
In the regular season. In the regular season, I'm sorry.
We're not counting a bowl. See, I said from the beginning, like this is gonna Mitch Trubisky was the number 1 pick in the draft. North Carolina went 8-4. I thought Drake May, same thing. I don't know though, man. They are better on defense. Like that's
they are.
Look, they are better on defense, and they can run the football. They do have a tough schedule. I'll know more after they play.
Whoa. What do you mean they have a tough schedule? Who are you calling tough? App State,
okay.
Minnesota, Pitt, Syracuse, Miami, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Campbell, Duke, and Clemson, NC State.
I mean, you schedule South Carolina, App State, Minnesota in the non-conference. I think that's tough. Clemson doesn't schedule like that.
No. Fair.
Minnesota's. I mean, I'll know more after the next few weeks because App State's not going to come in there scared of them, and Minnesota will beat the. Minnesota's not going to have problems on the offensive line, right? And then Pitt's always, tough. So I mean, they've got 3 blue collar. We're not afraid of you. Tough. If they start 4-0, then absolutely. I mean, because. I don't see Syracuse. I mean, we'll see what happens with Miami. Virginia may be the worst team in Power 5. Georgia Tech, close but no cigar. Campbell, I didn't even know they had a Division I football team. So they may be undefeated by the time they play Duke and Clemson later in the year. So, but I think I'll stick with the 8 for right now, but I reserve the right to change. If they start 4-0.
Bill, I think they will win at least 9 games. I think North Carolina and Florida State are going to play for the ACC championship. So there's my bold prediction on September 6th.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, you'll have May and Travis for an ACC title, and they don't play in the regular season, so why not play it in the title game?
Well, Clemson going to be.
No, they're not going to be in the title game.
Stuffing their faces full of
turkey. Well, that's they do. They lost to 0-1. They're 0-1 in their league. Carolina has not played. Carolina still got a shot a couple weeks from now to shock the world and start 1-0. By the way,
hey,
the Georgia fans got after Bobo pretty good in the first half the other day on Twitter.
Yeah,
because they only had like 106 yards against Tennessee Martin. They kept running it and getting stuffed, and they're like, I just smell Bobo. Well, you know, Frank, you respect this Bobo. Where's Todd Monken when we need him? But
we're back to the days of hating Mike Bobo in Athens, huh? 2 national championships in a row, and the guys got to go.
Yeah,
poor guys.
I just,
win 9 games or 10 games.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
I actually think Georgia's not as stacked at running back as they used to be, and I actually think they were just kind of trying to work on that. The power run part of it, because Mike's going to be more downhill than Monken was. I promise you, he's going to try to do that. And I think they were just trying to work on it because they were playing Tennessee Martin, and it just didn't work. It went horribly, much like Garrett Riley's debut as the Clemson offensive coordinator.
as running the Clemson offense. But yeah.
Look, man, I thought Clemson was going. I thought Duke would score about 25, or Clemson was going to hang at least 40 on them. So I was wrong about that. I do take. I'm happy I was wrong.
Tigers could start 0-2 in the ACC this year, and then who's after that? Oh, it's a trip to Syracuse.
Oh, talk about one circled there. That's always like a
my God
fun one to watch.
Dino Babers can't beat his, grandma in a sack race, but Clemson, man, he either beats him or scares the bejesus out of him every single time.
Well, they had no problem with the toothpaste this weekend. 65-0 over Colgate.
The Fighting Toothpaste.
Fighting Toothpaste.
All right. Thanks to Pat DiMarco for joining us today. A great segment, if you missed it, of Talkin Ball. We had a few plays that we let him examine from the game this weekend, good and bad for South Carolina. They're trying to improve. We all know that. We'll be here tomorrow. Perry Orth will be in. So will Chris Phillips. So will another Power Hour with Mike Morgan, the Golden
The
Tones.
Morgue.
Looking forward to that. I think we have a JC and Morgan coming up tomorrow as well.
Yeah, Mike and I had our fantasy football draft last night, and I was taking a nap and missed the first 45 minutes, so the computer picked for me. But then I made some pretty stellar picks.
I always love that guy in fantasy football. The guy that doesn't pick and then forgets to update his roster before game day. Yeah, I love that.
Now I'm good about that. I remember I had my alarm set and didn't. I had a World War II documentary going. I was snoozing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the Third Reich ended up invading Austria without any kind of, with a British voice. That's a great to sleep to.
I'm watching game film last night, trying to have an informed opinion on JC's watching World War II docs.
I'm the Steve Spurrier of talk radio. Urban Meyer's prepared at the last minute. He sunning himself at the Ocala.
Yeah, right.
Oh shoot! I'm just here. Me and Jerry catching some rays.
Yeah, check these boys out. All right, we got to get out of here, but we'll be back tomorrow at 11. We certainly are looking forward to that. For Phil and JC, we are served by Chicken Cock Whiskey, built by the Barn Co. and always live from the preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics, the Sinorama Studios. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 right here. Make sure you've downloaded the Chief Sports app. It's free and it's awesome.
Link in the description.